And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Proud to be here hanging out with you where sports truly meets that thing called life here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We thank you for your patience here this morning. Exclusive breaking news coming out of Dan Tortora Broadcast Media and Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is that the Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse men's soccer team has found their new leader as they step into a new era, that being Stuart Flaherty. Stuart Flaherty comes with a wealth of knowledge, experience, and success at the NCAA Division I, Division II, and Division III levels, as well as professional soccer, and has been a national champion in the professional soccer ranks. So a big-time thanks and a big-time shout-out to the Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse for everything that they're doing and all the work they're doing in the community, and much comes to the congratulations of Stuart Flaherty, who will be on the show for his exclusive first interview since becoming the new head coach of Bryan and Stratton Syracuse men's soccer. So once again, breaking news exclusive to Wake Up Call and to Dan Tortora Broadcast Media. You could go to wakeupcalldt.com and read this story right now. Stuart Flaherty to lead Bryan and Stratton Syracuse men's soccer. That includes quotes from new athletics director Brooke Parro, as well as new head coach Stuart Flaherty. And Stuart Flaherty going beyond this exclusive breaking news this morning in the article that's up on wakeupcalldt.com. He will be on the show with me tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time to have his exclusive first interview since being named head coach of the Bobcats for men's soccer here in Syracuse at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. We thank you for tuning in with us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And of course, PJ is here with us in hour number one. It is a Thursday, so it is PJ time. We're going to talk about the Jaguars Head-Coaching Vacancy. They have a bunch of interviews that have already been done, and we'll get into the NFL playoffs, see how we did through the wild card round and moving forward into the divisional round. And we'll talk college football playoff national championship coming up in just a few days on Monday, January 20th, which is also Inauguration Day. And then in hour number two, I'll be joined by longtime collegiate and pro football coach Bob Casullo to speak on the state of college athletics, as well as the college football playoff and its format, which changed this season to a 12-team format. So with that being said, I am more than happy to bring in Papa Joe, picture-in-picture, in our second home in the great state of Florida. PJ, how are we doing today?
Good morning, Daniel. Good. I can't hear you too well.
Can't hear me too well. Well, I'll do my best here to...
that helps.
Yeah. Okay, so that's better for you. So PJ here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. PJ, the Jacksonville Jaguars jumping right into Duval. The Jaguars currently right now are in a place where they have already interviewed some people for this Jaguars head coaching vacancy after letting go of Doug Peterson. They've let us know who's been interviewed. One of the guys that wasn't on the list, but they put out first, was that their interview was completed with Steve Spagnuolo, who's been a head coach and a coordinator currently with the Kansas City Chiefs. Steve Spagnuolo was interviewed and completed. Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator of the Detroit Lions, interview was completed. The interview with offensive coordinator Ben Johnson was completed. And their interview with Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator of the Raiders, was completed, as well as former head coach of the New York Jets, Robert Saleh, was completed. So those are the ones that we know are done from the Jaguars themselves, putting out the official word. Your thoughts on the five guys that the Jaguars have completed interviews with, the offensive and defensive coordinators of Detroit, Steve Spagnuolo, as well as Patrick Graham and Robert Saleh?
Well, they're all quality guys. I mean, they all got experience. There is one, and I know that try to put the cart in front of the horse here, but there's several people that are qualified to run this franchise. But the one I'm looking at, or the ones I'm looking at, are the young ones that have offensive minds, that have experience, that's not afraid to tackle a project, and has a transitional quarterback. And what I can say is the one that I looked up a lot is Liam Cohen from Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
He's lukewarm down here to take the job, or at least to be asked to take the job. Uh, he and Baker Mayfield have worked very well together, obviously, because Baker is amenable to working with anyone, really. Plus, when you got Godwin and Evans on the outside, you got a hell of an offense there.
Yeah.
So there are some other ones on the list, probably, but I think he's the one that I think they're in my pundency. He's the ones that they're keying on.
Yeah, and Liam Cohen coming from the Tampa Bay Bucks. I mean, listen, he's the offensive coordinator there, and there's something to be said about the fact that when Baker Mayfield lost Mike Evans at a certain point this season, lost Chris Godwin, and at a time lost them both at the same time, that he continued to be successful. Speaking of Baker Mayfield, so you look at the coaching staff and you say the plan that they built up and the other wide receivers and the running backs and the personnel that they have there for Baker, when Baker Mayfield can be successful and when he can hang with teams that are Super Bowl caliber teams in games without his top two wide receivers, that says something to the scheming, it says something to the personnel, and it says something to the coaching. So I think Liam Cohen, PJ, is enticing when we look at games like that and we look at the fact that here's a coach in Liam Cohen who helped Baker Mayfield move forward and find success without his top two targets, one of those targets being one of the best wide receivers in the nation.
That's exactly right. I like the offensive coordinator. There are several other one here on the list that we talked about last week. I think Joe Brady's getting a lot of talk now from the Bills. Aaron Glenn is up top with everyone. He's got 3 or 4 offers, I believe. He's got a couple offers out already. And, of course, the big one is Ben Johnson. I'm not sure. Ben Johnson is not an enigma. He's a very quiet guy.
Yeah.
And I think what he's looking, what the pundits are saying that he's going to take the L.A. Raiders job, the Raiders. I don't see that happening because I think he wants an established quarterback. And he's probably going to have 5 different interviews, 5 different offers, and he's a quality guy. Of course, Mike Vrabel, we just found out this week, is going to take the job with New England.
Yeah.
But that Mr. Khan is playing this close to the vest. And I'm not sure if some of these candidates are even agreeable to having Trent Baalke as the general manager there. I seem to think when Mr. Khan was going through his prognostications, I thought that perhaps he would release Baalke and bring out a new GM and a new coach, the whole new thing, start from square one again. So I'm not sure. Maybe there's some guys out there that don't appreciate what Baalke has done. Maybe they have issue with him for something. But the franchise is solid. It's going to go through some physical changes here in the next couple of years. It should ingratiate everyone a lot better, watch the games. And there's another one that I like to talk about too, and that's what's his name? The guy from the Boise State, the quarterback, Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore has a lot of experience.
Yeah.
And I seem to like him too. Also, I think he's the one probably is headed toward Dallas, if I could say that on the air. I'm not sure, but there's maybe 10 or 12 guys out there that are really qualified to take any job. Now, of course, the new coach that just popped up this week was Mike McCarthy. You can shove all his rest of these guys beside and move him to the front, because if someone's looking for a stable coach that can coach quarterbacks and have offensive mind, it'd be Mike McCarthy.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because Mike McCarthy, the question was, is Dallas going to hold on to him? Are they going to let him go? We all know that Jerry lives in Jerry's world, and Jerry Jones, making the decisions that he made, he got rid of a couple of years ago. Got rid of Ezekiel Elliott, moved up Tony Pollard, right? So he gets to be the main running back. Then he brings Zeke Elliott back onto the team. And, I mean, it made no sense. It was a head-scratching moment. He had Mike McCarthy, and then you're thinking, okay, it's Black Monday. They're not in the playoffs. They had a horrible showing this season. They had an absolutely terrible showing at home this season. They were one of those teams that was better off playing on the road. And he holds on and he doesn't let go of Mike McCarthy. And you're thinking, okay, so I guess it's Mike McCarthy for the future. And then he lets go of Mike McCarthy. So you sit here and you scratch your head about what is Jerry Jones doing? What is the point of this whole movement by Jerry Jones? And, why did he wait to make this move? Was he trying to work something out with Mike McCarthy? Was he trying to figure something out with the coach? Or did he just want to let him go? He's the owner and the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, so he's making all kinds of decisions here. He's his own boss, essentially, so he's never going to fire himself. But, I sit here and I think to myself, he's made moves that make you wonder, why did you do that? He waited on Dak Prescott to give him a contract. He's just done things in recent history that have made you wonder, why? Why bring Zeke Elliott back? Why wait on Dak? Why wait to let go Mike McCarthy? And what's he going to do right now? Now, Deion Sanders allegedly got a phone call from Jerry Jones, and keep in mind, he played for Jerry Jones when he was a Cowboy, and Deion Sanders had something to say about this situation. So what he said about the interview here, or about the conversation at least, he had put he had put a message out stating that, he appreciated it. It was nice to have a conversation. But he also said within this conversation that he was happy with, what's going on in Colorado. So what does that mean? Is that smoke and mirrors? Is it one thing? Is he thinking of leaving? Is this a real thing in that and this and that, or is this just one of those things where, it was just to build up some excitement, build some fanfare around it? That's left to be seen. Was it real with Deion Sanders? Is it not real with Deion Sanders? But Kellen Moore was there. He was a coordinator. So if Jerry brings him back, it would make sense because Jerry likes to let go of things and then bring them back later on. So maybe he does that with Kellen Moore. All I know is that the Dallas Cowboy fans, they're tired, they're angry, they're frustrated. And I was just down in Arlington, Texas at AT&T Stadium for the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic. And it's the home of the Cowboys. And they put a bunch of different people up on the screen. And they put up Jerry Jones really quick, took him down a lot faster than they took down Matthew McConaughey. They put up McConaughey, people cheered. They put up other people, people cheered. They put up Jerry. As soon as they put him up, as soon as the camera went there and hit it, the fans booed like crazy. So, PJ, I don't know what Jerry's going to do, but Jerry's obviously living in Jerry's world. And it's time that Jerry maybe trusts in some other people to make some decisions here. Go and find a good head coach and move forward. But I agree with you. Mike McCarthy, he's got good history, did a lot of good things in Green Bay. So there's former head coaches out there, there's coordinators out there. What do you think about Jerry's world? And does Jerry Jones finally have to listen to somebody other than his own brain?
I'm not a Jerry Jones fan. I haven't been for many years. He's an egotistical little jerk. He's everything's got to revolve around him. I don't know how some of these people can work for this guy. Jason Garrett was his coach for many years, and he's an even-keeled guy. But even he got disgusted with the way Jerry runs things. Jerry has to answer to Jerry, I guess, and he's the only one that counts. He even wants Witten, the tight end, to come in maybe for a talk.
Yeah.
Jerry is, I assume, very difficult to work for. And I don't know what the players would say. They wouldn't say anything on the record because he pays them. But there are other people in the league that they just shy away from the job.
Yeah.
And Mike McCarthy lasted 5 years. I thought that was good. I mean, but what that does is it puts all the jobs now under his umbrella, other than Mike Vrabel, who was a very capable man himself. So all the ones that we're talking about are now going to be tied for second place under Mike McCarthy. That's what Jerry Jones did, and he's screwing things up. He just wants to be in charge. He wants everyone to know that he knows what he's talking about. And he doesn't. He doesn't have football people around him. His son, I'm sure, is a good businessman,
Yeah.
but they don't know football. And Jerry, for whatever, I don't know how long he's had the franchise, what, 25 years? And he still can't get it right.
Yeah. It's been a long time living in Jerry's world, and the fans are obviously frustrated. They're upset, and they don't seem to like this. So we'll see what the Dallas Cowboys do. There's a bunch of jobs open. Are you surprised that the Detroit Lions allowed for the Jaguars to interview Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, as the team is obviously fully in the postseason? They did get to sit out the wild card round as the number one seed of the NFC, but some teams that get requests for their assistant coaches don't allow you to talk to their assistant coaches until they get closer to the Super Bowl, sometimes when the postseason's over. Are you surprised that Detroit has allowed interviews so early on?
Very much so, because they have a juggernaut up there. They're going to be very difficult to stop. The Lions and Kansas City Chiefs for a Super Bowl will probably going to be one of the most watched programs of ever on television.
Yeah.
Both of these guys are very capable. Aaron Glenn, I know, has got an in with New Orleans. Apparently, he's number one for the job down there. But when you got a team as strong as Detroit, they got two really good offensive and defensive coordinators. I think the world of football revolves around those two guys, not the head coach. I mean, even though he calls the shots, but he lets the offensive, the OC and the DC run the team, and he can see what's happening. And I am surprised that they're allowing them to do that. Now, if I was Dan Campbell, I think I would go to the owner and say, "Listen, can you juke these guys up a little bit? Maybe give another $1 million a year." And see if we can be his next.
Right now, I mean, Mike Vrabel from a year ago, it was a little over a year ago, where I had Mike Vrabel with a Patriots logo on his chest, and I said, it's time for the Patriots to hire Mike Vrabel. They didn't do that a year ago, and they did it now a year later, and their people had found this post, and like one guy reposted it and this and that, but I had called for the Patriots to hire Mike Vrabel a season ago, and as much as I'm not happy for Gerard Mayo and just how they only gave him a year and that was it, I am happy that the Patriots finally listened to me. So with that being said, we look at, the fact that a bunch of teams are still looking for this now. I'm looking at the Jaguars announced late on Wednesday night that they did complete an interview with Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator Liam Cohen, who we spoke about. He spent the past season with the Bucs, and he was the Los Angeles Rams offensive coordinator in 2022. He held the same position at Kentucky in 2021 and 2023. So he was at Kentucky as the offensive coordinator, left and went to the Rams, went back to Kentucky, and then went to Tampa. My only concern is that he's been in 3 different places in 4 years. He hasn't stayed anywhere consistently, which is something that I would look at when it comes to Liam Cohen. Maybe it's just because he hasn't found his home, but we'll see here. Now, the Cowboys requested to speak with Seahawks assistant Leslie Frazier, so that's something to look at as well. The assistant head coach Leslie Frazier, and he was the Minnesota head coach, plus he was a longtime defensive coordinator. The Chicago Bears have interviewed Mike McCarthy. And so there's different happenings that are going on here. The question becomes, though, who is going to get it done first? And, who is going to be the next chip to fall, PJ, in your opinion here? I mean, is it the Raiders? Is it the Jaguars? Is it going to be the Cowboys? Who do you think is going to – I mean, to me, I think Shad Khan with the Jaguars is going to go slow. I mean, if he finds his guy, he finds his guy. But I feel like he's being more methodical with this, and I would imagine he's going to continue to be methodical with this. I don't know if he's going to rush to the decision, but what do you think is going to be the next chip to fall? If you had to pick one of these vacancies, who do you think is going to be the next one to announce?
I think that the way the press was writing this up is Johnson is headed to the Raiders. And to me, that's not a good spot because he doesn't have a quarterback. I think the whole thing, again, let me reiterate, I think the whole thing is based on what Mike McCarthy does. This wasn't in the plans. I mean, the teams had their men that they wanted to interview, And all of a sudden, up pops Mike McCarthy, who's a Super Bowl quarterback. And if you're a Jaguars fan and you're looking at this, well, why, let's interview him and see what's going on.
Yeah.
Look, we need offense at Jacksonville. That's what we need. We need someone who's strong on offense. Let someone else run a defense, which was poor this year. I think they came in last in defense this year. And pretty sure on offense was just as bad. So I think we're looking for a strong offensive coordinator, and I think that's where it's got to be. If everyone has to fall in line after McCarthy, so be it. I noticed that Ben Johnson does not want the Chicago job because he doesn't want to have to face Detroit twice a year. I can understand that.
Yeah.
They probably blow right out the doors. I look for the Raiders to plot first. Everyone else is second behind Mike McCarthy. I think that's the way it's going, Mike Daniel.
Yeah, and it says right now, the Associated Press put out a story that said, NFL teams are conducting long, extensive searches for their next head coach. So Mike Vrabel is in New England, Mike McCarthy out in Dallas, and the Jets, Saints, and the Bears got a head start because they fired their coaches during the season, which I know you're against. The Jaguars and the Raiders came in after that, and then the Cowboys. So the Dallas Cowboys, just to give some updates here on news that Deion Sanders and owner Jerry Jones have talked about the position, became a hot topic. Sanders has expressed his desire to stay at the University of Colorado, but has a close relationship with Jones, won a Super Bowl playing for the Cowboys. So there is that there of, is that going to be open or closed? So this will be the 9th head coach that Jerry Jones will choose since purchasing the team back in 1989 when he fired the legendary Tom Landry. So he started off his career making horrible decisions. And so he's coached. So Landry coached the Cowboys for 29 years. So just remember that. Now, Jerry Jones also hired Jimmy Johnson, who won 3 Super Bowls. He probably would have won 4 or 5, but he couldn't work with Jerry. So that broke up as well. And so, we'll see where they go with here. The next, after Jimmy Johnson and Barry Switzer, he had Bill Parcells, Wade Phillips, Mike McCarthy. Now, they had previously been head coaches in the NFL. He also had Chan Gailey, Dave Campo, and Jason Garrett, who had been coordinators. Now, he could look to Pete Carroll. He could look to Doug Peterson, which would be interesting because the Jaguars and the Cowboys consistently swap players all the time. So that'd be interesting if they swapped a coach, but nothing definitive there. Hold on, I got something in my throat. Raiders. So the Antonio Pierce and general manager Tom Telesco were fired after 1 season. So they're looking for a GM as well as looking for a head coach for the Raiders. They've scheduled interviews with Pete Carroll, Lions offensive coordinator Ben Johnson, who you mentioned, defense coordinator Aaron Glenn, Broncos DC Vance Joseph, Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken, former Jets head coach Robert Salah, and Chiefs defense coordinator Steve Spagnuolo. So we'll look to see what happens there. To go into the Jaguars, after 2 winning seasons under Peterson and a playoff win, they finished 4-13, and Johnson, Glenn, Spagnuolo, Salah, and Raiders defensive coordinator Patrick Graham have all been interviewed, as we mentioned. Liam Cohen allegedly was interviewed late last night, which leaves Bills offensive coordinator Joe Brady, Vikings defensive coordinator Brian Flores, and Monken and Moore have been requested. So Brian Flores might also be coming into the room as well on the defensive side. Now, Trent Baalke, the general manager, is still in Jacksonville for now, and he will be on his 4th coach since taking the job over in 2021. Obviously showing that the previous decisions by him and Khan did not work out. The Chicago Bears, they're looking for their next head coach. Pete Carroll, former Panthers and Commanders coach Ron Rivera have already interviewed in Chicago, along with Thomas Brown, who served as an interim coach after Matt Eberflus was fired. Vrabel was interviewed, but he already took the job with the Patriots. Johnson, Glenn, Cardinals offensive coordinator Drew Petzing, as well as Dolphins defense coordinator Anthony Weaver, and Giants offensive coordinator Mike Kafka were interviewed for the Bears as well. They're looking at interviews with Flores, Monken, Commanders offensive coordinator Cliff Kingsbury, who was the head coach with the Cardinals and has turned out to be a good offensive coordinator, in my opinion. He also got Jaden Daniels. And Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith, who was fired after being the head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, and in his last game shouted some F-bombs on the field. And then Packers offensive coordinator Adam Stenovich, also there for the potential job in Chicago. The Saints interim coach Darren Rizzi, who went 3-5 following the firing of Dennis Allen, he's expected to interview for the job. Weaver, Kafka, and Glenn have already interviewed. McCarthy, Brady, Kingsbury, and Moore, Kellen Moore, are on the list. The team requested an interview with David Shaw, former Stanford head coach and current Broncos executive. The Jets, who fired their coach first this season, they're looking, this one's taken the longest to fill because at the time that they did it. Interim coach Jeff Ulbrich, who went 3-9 after replacing Salah, who was on the defensive side of the ball. He interviewed recently. Vrabel's not taking the job, obviously. Rizzi, Spagnuolo, Rivera, Maryland head coach Mike Loxley, Glenn, chief offensive coordinator Matt Nagy, who used to be a head coach, and former Jets coach Rex Ryan have all interviewed. Rex Ryan's openly campaigned for the job, and he brought them to back-to-back AFC Championship games following the 2009 and 10 seasons. The Jets have requested interviews with Brady, Flores, Joseph Smith, 49ers quarterback coach Brian Griese, who was a quarterback in the NFL, Vikings quarterback coach Josh McCown, who was a quarterback in the NFL, Texans offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick, and Commanders defensive coordinator Joe Witt Jr. So that's where we're at with kind of giving an update, PJ. The one common denominator that I find with almost every single team on this list is that they want to interview the offensive coordinator, Ben Johnson of the Lions, and the defensive coordinator, Aaron Glenn of the Lions. Are you surprised that almost every single team with a vacancy is running toward the Lions?
No, not at all. What I think they should be looking at is how Campbell runs his team. I think that's quite evident the last couple of years, even though we got off to a slow start. I think it was 3-14 or something like that his first year, and he came back strong because he's got a good team. He knows what he's doing. I think people, if they're looking for something to emulate, find out what his plans are and try to emulate his. His team is great. He's got the right guys in the right positions. He lets his players play. He lets his coaches coach, and he sits back and he's a good deal. There's an awful lot of guys you just talked about, and there's a lot of very capable people on this list. But Rex Ryan's another egotistical fool, just like Jerry Johnson. It's always him. I remember him when he was coaching the Jets. So now he's begging to get the job back, and no one's listening to him because I don't think the Jets are even going to listen to him anymore. So there's some personality problems here. We discussed it, a lot of it. There's just a lot of very capable people here that can go fit in anywhere, really. For us, I want an offensive coordinator. I want someone young who can relate to the players and have a strong background in the offensive side of the ball. That's all I care about. I want to see us score 30 points a game. I don't want to see us give up 30 points a game, but I want us to score 30 points a game.
Yeah, offense seemed to be the theme in the original list that the Jaguars released. Since then, there's been some defensive-minded coaches that have been added to the fray here, but the hope is, and I would agree with you, PJ, I mean, if it was up to me and I was making this decision on who to hire, number one, I'd probably look at getting a new general manager, and I'm not ever wishing for someone to lose their job by any stretch of the imagination. Just the Trent Baalke era, I mean, think about it. He took over in 2021 as the GM, and how many coaches has he had to do? I mean, it's just it's ridiculous. The whole system of what the Jacksonville Jaguars have been doing is ridiculous. It's been a streak of bad decisions. And what did I say about the Carolina Panthers? When you make bad decision after bad decision when it comes to coaches and it comes to your quarterbacks and this and that, whatever, in the case of Carolina, if it's personnel in coaching and or personnel on the field over and over and over again, then you look to the GM. In Jacksonville, I mean, think about what this team has been doing. Think about how they've, I mean, have the draft picks been working out? Some have, some haven't. Now, obviously, Trevor Lawrence was injured last year, and he was injured this past season. He was injured the season before that. He probably should have not played at certain points 2 seasons ago. Probably should have had surgery back then. He didn't. So we are where we are right now. But my question to the Jacksonville Jaguars is Trent Baalke, beyond having a coach, is Trent Baalke the guy that you think is making good decisions personnel-wise? Because you are heading toward, very quickly, the 2025 NFL Draft. Okay, this offensive line has had consistent problems. This defensive line has had consistent problems. The defensive line needs help. You lost your glory boy on the offensive line, and I mean, that being Cam Robinson, who I have a ton of respect for. They brought him in. He was the left tackle. He was the blind side guy. And no matter what they went through, injuries with him, suspensions, they kept him. And then they let him go. They trade him away, and he goes to Minnesota, and he goes to the playoffs. So, to me, if you're willing to let go of guys that are vets on the O-line and D-line, you're admitting that you have problems there. You have to address those problems. You have to address the fact that you didn't draft well necessarily in the secondary. I like Andre Sisco. Yes, he came from Syracuse. No, that's not the only reason why I like the guy. The guy's gone out there. He's done a lot of good things. He intercepted Pat Mahomes. He's made some good moves in his career, and I don't think he's going to be crazy expensive. But their cornerbacks, I don't necessarily lean on. I don't lean on their D-line. I don't lean on their O-line. Tyler Shatley, he's been there for 100 years. Guy's got to go take a break and relax. So, I mean, running back-wise, Travis Etienne's good. He's got an ego. Are they going to bring in somebody else? Are they going to let Tank Bigsby have it? What are they going to do with the wide receiver core? Evan Engram's a fantastic tight end. But it's you build from the inside out. And the Jaguars haven't built an offensive and defensive line that is, number one, stayed healthy. So it doesn't even matter if they're talented. But number one, they have to stay healthy. And number two, they got to be able to play well together. So I think the Jaguars need to address putting 4 sets of hands in the dirt instead of 3 sets of hands in the dirt, first and foremost, and run a 4-3 defense. And I think they need to look at an offensive line of guys that are going to be successful, that are talented, but also guys that are healthy, because they have long since had a problem with trading for guys that just don't stay healthy. So no coach is going to be successful in Jacksonville with a porous offensive and defensive line, and that's reality. So I looked at Trent Baalke and I say, what is your plan? What are you going to do with the personnel you have? Are you going to pay Travis Etienne? Are you going to pay Andre Sisco? Because their contracts are almost up. What are you going to do in the draft? What are you addressing first? If I'm Shad Khan, I'm not just interviewing head coaches. I'm interviewing Trent Baalke, and every time I bring a head coach in, I'm watching how he speaks to them. I'm watching the question he asks. Because if I'm Shad Khan, I'm smart. I'm not just interviewing my head coaches while I'm interviewing head coaches. I'm interviewing Trent Baalke when I watch him interview head coaches.
That's true. One word we have to be careful with is that's the rebuild. If you everything you said is correct. If you want to do something with the Jaguars, you may have to start all over again, Daniel. The only person that stays is your quarterback, who is a generational talent.
Yeah. And
even he's slumped the last couple of years. But if a coach comes in, he's going to need authority to do what he needs to do. And that means also working with the GM. What can you get me, Trent? What can you get me here? This is what I want. I want this guy here. I want this guy here. Bring this guy from over here. It's a big deal. And I hate the word rebuild for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Because I thought they were heading in the right direction a couple of years ago when he made the championship game, but it's gotten worse. And Pedersen, for all he's done in the past, he didn't do very well for us at all. I was really surprised with that. I don't blame him at all. I mean, if he doesn't have the right personnel and he goes to the GM and the GM's not going to do anything, well, you're stuck with winning and losing with what you got. And I don't envy anyone coming into this position. It's not going to be easy to win right away. If they have to, quote, rebuild, unquote, then that's what they do.
Yeah, and I think at this point, just knowing where the team is at and knowing that they only have a few pieces, they may have to exactly do that. They may have to go into a rebuild. PJ and I are going to move forward, though, here because we got a few more minutes before he's got to get hopping. We're going to go to the NFL playoffs and look at how things shook out. We're going to look at PJ's bracket and look at my bracket and see how well we did coming out of this first round of the 2024-25 NFL playoffs, that being the NFL wild card round. PJ's bracket is up first here. So we take a look at PJ's bracket, and in the studio, I am looking at the actual bracket here just to see what we got. So PJ went with Minnesota, and the Rams ended up winning that game. So we got that one wrong. He went with Tampa, and Washington won on a last-second doink field goal. He got Philadelphia right here, so we're going to circle Philadelphia. And then PJ with the Chargers. We both, I don't know why we both bought into this because Houston's got talent, but we went with the Chargers, got that one wrong. Baltimore took care of Pittsburgh. Buffalo took care of Denver in a big way. So PJ still very much has the Baltimore-Buffalo opportunity alive. He's got his Super Bowl alive still. He's got Philly moving on, so that's still good. And Detroit beating Minnesota and Kansas City beating the Chargers. So you haven't hurt yourself for the future of your bracket, PJ. When we take a look at my bracket, which was exactly the same as PJ's, we make the same marks here. Minnesota and Tampa both lost. Philadelphia wins. Buffalo wins. Baltimore wins. The Chargers lose. But my bracket, my Final Four, is still alive, just like PJ's Final Four. PJ, any surprises or thoughts here? I said watch out for the Rams. They're flying under the radar, and they're technically the road team, even though they have 14 wins. Are you surprised in that game or anything else?
Yeah, the game that surprised me was Washington. I thought the Todd Bowles would put up a good defense on the kid, Jaden Daniels. And this kid is just like C.J. Stroud last year. This kid is very poised. He's come from a good system. He knows what he's doing. He's got a strong arm. He can run. He's going to be a load. I mean, Detroit is looking at this kid and saying, what are we going to do to stop this kid? And I think Aaron Glenn's going to have everything thrown out at this kid. He's got to check him off a little bit. I think Matthew Stafford did a good job with his passing game with Nakua and Cooper Kupp. Tyler Higbee got hurt. Don't know if he's going to make the next round. I think he had something like 5 catches in the first quarter. He got hurt. Something to do with he's coughing up blood, so I don't know what's going to happen there. And Higbee's a big part of his offense also. Yeah. Philly, how about the play that Dallas Goedert did when he took that swing pass from Hurts and stiff-armed this poor kid, and he stiff-armed him 3 more times before he got in the end zone. Yeah. Oh, I was going crazy with that.
Yeah, we thought Derrick Henry was the king of the stiff arm. Dallas Goedert said, "Get off me, get off me, get off me," and then pushing this guy's head, just pushing his head. I mean, that was
great. That was great.
The stiff arm is one of the best things that's still in football, and I love the stiff arm, and there's people that can do it so extremely well. But Derrick Henry, I mean, he stiff-armed a Jacksonville Jaguars player at a game that I was at when he was on the Titans in his last season with the Titans, and it was so demoralizing, I felt bad for the guy. Then I saw Dallas Goedert, and I was like, at this point, man, he kept trying, and Dallas just with one hand was just like, eat all my fingers. Eat the first one, eat the second one, just keep going with it. He was, I don't even know what to say about it. It was one of the most electric, exciting, just demoralizing, decapitating, physical plays I've ever seen in my life. And if you thought Dallas Goedert was getting old and he's been in the league too long, he just stiff-armed that conversation right out of the building. So it was great.
Derrick Henry, of course, is Derrick Henry doing his stuff with Lamar Jackson. I think this is a mini Super Bowl we're going to see this weekend with Baltimore and Buffalo. This is going to be, and it's going to be supposed to be single digits in Buffalo for the game, and you're going to be nice and cozy in Syracuse. Yeah, you'll be nice and cozy. Derrick Henry, I think if they run for 200 yards combined, they win the game. I don't see how you can stop them. I don't see how you can stop Derrick Henry anyway. And we talked about this last week. Why he ever left Tennessee, I don't understand, but He is 30 years old, and I mean he's still a beast. He still runs well, and frankly, they got him on a dime. I think he's probably underpaid. Um, so Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson, but Lamar Jackson has to win the big one to be thought of as one of the best.
Yeah. And we'll see what they do here. I agree with you. Buffalo and Baltimore is going to be a fantastic game. I can't wait to watch all of these games. Can't wait to see the Lions in action. Kansas City will be in action. I had a dream that the Houston Texans were leading the Kansas City Chiefs with a few seconds left on the clock at the end of the game, and Kansas City had the ball. And they were down by 6. That was my dream. We'll see, and it was a low-scoring game. We'll see if my dream becomes reality in the not-too-distant future. By the way, Derrick Henry, at the ripe age of 30 years old, the man is making $3.895 million this season. That's what he's making. That was the signing probation. So the hit to the cap was only $5.105 million for the Baltimore Ravens. Dude's got over 2,000 yards rushing. He is one of the best, if not the best running back in the NFL right now. Saquon Barkley would have some things to say about that. But Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley, all I got to say to you two gentlemen, man, it must feel good to get old, because they said y'all were washed up, and look at what you guys are doing. So shout out to both of them. I did not believe all that BS and all those stories about they're too old, they're 30, they're 31, they're washed up. Come on, guys. They were coming out of the rookie contract in the case of Saquon Barkley. Give the love to Derrick Henry. Give the love to Quando. And baby girl, they're both still alive in the playoffs. And I'm sorry, where are the Giants and the Panthers, or part of the Giants and the Titans right now? They're the teams that I guess thought these guys were too old and not worth paying the money to. Not only are the Giants and the Titans not in the postseason, but they suck so bad they're going to be drafting early. Maybe they should draft Ashton Genty. They won't, because the Giants need about 72 players for a 53-man roster, and the Titans, well, they need pretty much the same dang thing. So with that being said, PJ, quick here before I let you go. The national championship is on Monday, January 20th. I'm going back to Atlanta. That's where the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl was. It's where the championship is going to be, at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. On one side, we have my buddy who I texted yesterday, and I appreciate him so very much, Riley Leonard, Notre Dame quarterback. We got him on one side, praising Jesus. On the other side, we got Ohio State quarterback Will Howard, praising Jesus. We got two defenses that have been a pain in the butt for many teams in this college football playoff. We got Marcus Freeman, who was just voted just got the Bobby Dodd Trophy for Coach of the Year from the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl's Peach Bowl Inc. that oversees the Peach Bowl. He just got the Dodd Trophy for Coach of the Year, Marcus Freeman on one side. You got Ryan Day on the other side. The coaches, the assistant coaches that they have on their staff. You got former head coaches as assistant coaches on these staffs. You got Chip Kelly, who I talked to a couple days ago. You can go and watch that on YouTube and Facebook, both at Wake Up Call DT. You got a former head coach working for Ryan Day in Ohio State. And then for Marcus Freeman, you got a former head coach in Al Golden working for him at Notre Dame. So the coaches are there. The backup coaches are former head coaches. They got great pedigrees, fantastic people. You got two awesome quarterbacks. You got rushing attacks on both sides that are nightmares. You got receivers that are hungry, and you got defenses that have been shutting people down. Papa Joe, who wins this game?
Well, frankly, Daniel, I think Notre Dame is really overmatched here. Ohio State looks like they're hitting on all cylinders. I don't see how they can mess this up. They got a first runner as a quarterback. Will Howard, frankly, is better than some of the ones we talked about last week.
Yeah.
Their wide receiver, the freshman, Texas shut him down last week, and he got one catch for three yards. He's going to be the key here. Yeah. But there are a defense. What a play that Walker guy did. The linebacker. Okay, got the quarterback down, fumbled, picked it up, and ran 82 yards for a score. they really look awesome, Daniel. Notre Dame, we fuss about these teams not playing a good schedule. I don't know what their strength of schedule is because I didn't look it up. But Notre Dame, we always harp about they never play anyone, and Ohio State is so much better in the league than anyone else. They don't play anyone either, but they got to play their league. So you got two teams that we don't particularly care for because we don't like their printed schedules. However, they both arrived here. They're both good teams. Yeah. They played their way in. There's no denying that. I'm not going to deny that. And I've become familiar with Ryan Day a little by reading about him, and I really like the guy now. I didn't think I would, but I don't follow the Big Ten. Daniel, I'm an SEC guy. You follow the Big Ten. I don't follow the Big Ten.
Yeah, listen. Has there been unfairness in the rankings over the years? Yes. Did Notre Dame show up in the college football playoff the last two times they were here? No. Do I think they should have been in it? Definitely not one of those times. And Ohio State has more often than not shown up. They won the first college football playoff over Oregon, but since then they've been quiet even though they've been in it. They got blown out by Clemson during this time period of the last decade plus. So, yes, they've both been given opportunities that maybe other conferences and schools are clamoring for. But what I will say is the players can't control that. That's got nothing to do with them. The players have to win the game. And I said, you go on the field, advantage or not, unfair advantage in the polls or not, unfair advantage in the college football playoff or not, you get in these games, you win these games, you earn respect, you get respect. And Ohio State has earned my respect. Notre Dame has earned my respect, even though Riley Leonard already had it before he even went to Duke. So my respect is there with both. I appreciate them both. I am honored to see them both. And even though I didn't have these two teams in the national championship, they fought like hell to get to where they are right now. Notre Dame beat Georgia. They beat that stout defense. I respect that. They beat a stout defense at Penn State. And then Ohio State beat what I consider to be the two best teams for a good portion of the season, Oregon and Texas. And they beat them back to back. So if you want to be the best, you got to beat the best. Who's the best right now? Man, this is tough. Ohio State is the juggernaut. Ohio State is the easy pick. But you know what? It's been a long time coming, and I got to ride with my guy. I'm going with the Fighting Irish because Riley Leonard, it's a long time since you needed to. I mean, you don't need to hear me say this. You don't need anybody to help you say this. You don't need anybody on your side because you got God on your side. And these are two teams that praise God publicly, and beyond anything, whoever wins, that's what I'm going to love the most. But you know what? If I'm going to ride at any point with Riley Leonard, if I'm finally going to say what I need to say, I love that he was at Duke. I love that he had success. I love that he became the starter. I'm so proud of him. So you know what, Riley? You made it to the end here. And if I was on a team right now, and this is no offense to Ohio State, if I was on a team right now, I'd have to be playing with my guy Riley. So I'm going to go with Riley Leonard. I'm going to pick Notre Dame. But I want it to be known that whoever wins this game, I'm going to love talking with you both. I have loved talking with Ohio State going into this thing. I look forward. I was watching the Notre Dame press conference yesterday. I can't wait to see what happens in this game. It would be easy to pick Ohio State. I know so many people are probably going to pick Ohio State and disrespect Notre Dame. But I'm going to go with Notre Dame. And with that being said, to the student athletes and the coaches, whoever wins, whoever loses, I can't wait to talk to you both because whoever wins, I think we're going to get a true national champion this year. I think you both fought hard for where you are. You deserve to be here because you earned the right to be here. So for me, personally, I'm not upset that either one of them got in. Yes, there's an unfair advantage during the season. Am I surprised at Ohio State continuing to win? No. Am I surprised at Notre Dame? Yeah, I am surprised a little bit at how far that they've come. But I'm gonna ride with Notre Dame because I would never be able to look at Riley again if I didn't. But I'm gonna ride with Notre Dame, and whoever wins the championship, I'm gonna be excited for either team because they have both earned my respect and they both deserve to be there. So that coming from me.
Well, you're a two touchdown. Well, let's put it this way. Ohio State's a 2-touchdown favorite.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, PJ. I think I'm riding with Notre Dame here. Papa Joe here with us on Wake Up Call. He's got to get hopping. He's got somewhere he needs to be. PJ, as always, I thank you for being a part of the broadcast, and I send you, MT, and everyone down in Florida my love. I look forward to talking with you and hopefully getting to see you soon.
Okay, check you later. Bye-bye.
That coming from Papa Joe here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We will be back momentarily with the wonderful Bob Casullo right after this. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McInerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Bryan and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Bryan and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Bryan's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Here is a special message from Brian Bruno, owner of Servomation Refreshments Incorporated.
I grew up in the family business. I had the experience of working for a national food service company with thousands of employees. And as much as I enjoyed the experience I had, there was something about, owning my own company and being able to change the things I saw wrong with the industry firsthand, which is why I moved back to my hometown in Canastota, New York, to launch Servomation. It was back in 2007. When we first started the business in 2007, really you didn't find any machines with credit card readers. There's a lack of variety in machines. You got stuck with basically whatever the vending company wanted to sell that day. There's a lot of inefficiencies in the business, and those were all things that we saw as opportunities, both from a customer level to improve and from an operating level to be more efficient. We've really been at the forefront of introducing retail technology into our space. We were doing self-checkout back in 2009 before it really became a national phenomenon. The whole point of it isn't to just improve the customer experience. It's to make it feel more like a retail environment where people don't have to be afraid of what they're buying behind glass. They don't have to be afraid of not being able to see the ingredients of the packages. It was an easy transaction from that standpoint. If we were to reinvent something, we wanted to make sure what we were making looked and felt more like a deli and not like something that you would traditionally see in a vending machine. I was tired of hearing for years the customers say the wheel of death because the vending machine would circle around with the same tuna salad in it. What we wanted to do was it really changed the perception of that food. So allowing customers to touch it, allowing customers to feel the weight of it, allow customers to see the freshness of it, and also the variety of it really helps them change the perception and ultimately the value of what we bring to them. The point of differentiation you have to make is either in value or the quality. And I think on both of those fronts, Servomation has really, in large part, changed that value system for employees. So they no longer have to worry about bringing their food from home or having to leave their desk during the day and rush out to get back in time for their break to end. We're bringing something that they can count on in their break room every day, and they know it's going to be there, they know it's going to be fresh, and they don't have to worry about it being sold out or something that they don't enjoy. We've also heavily invested in flavored water water machine, so you can get a glass of water with a fresh piece of fruit in it, along with bean-to-cup coffee machine. So there's not a day that goes by we're not surprised when we get customers that call us and say, we didn't know you could do all this. We're really lucky to have a strong group of dedicated employees. Most of our employees have been with us since inception. They're family to us, and people like doing business with people they like and trust. And I think the same thing goes for employees. And in a day and an age where there's a lot of corporations that just look at an employee as a number and don't get to know them, that's just not the way I was raised or how I like to do business. So we're a little old-fashioned. We like getting close to our employees. We like knowing how we can help them. We like knowing how we can improve their lives, adjust their schedules, whatever it may be to help improve their quality of life. And we think in the end that makes for a happier employee. We're fortunate enough to have really grown over the last several years, and from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts to Connecticut, we really do have a strong connection, even though we're not in the rooms every day with these employees. There's not one single employee that we feel like we don't know, and certainly we know they can call us at any time, and they're definitely treated as family to us. I wake up every single day really excited to surprise our customers in a good way. The one thing I can tell you is I think that every one of our employees and every one of our customers will continue to be at the forefront of every decision we make.
Find out how Servomation can help you and your business by going to servomation.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We are here inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And I'm happy to be here with Bob Casullo as we bring Bob in here on video, hopefully momentarily. We'll have Bob ready to go here on video, and we'll have the opportunity to speak with Mr. Casullo, the longtime college and pro football coach. And we'll be speaking on the college football playoff as well as the state of collegiate athletics. So we're just waiting for that video to come in here on Bob's side. So hopefully we'll be able to see Bob here in just a second.
Can you hear me, Dan?
I can hear you. We just can't see you, sir. So we're trying to be able to get Bob in here so we could talk with Mr. Casullo on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. And as we await the video here, I want to let everybody know we thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora here on every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, here with us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT 24/7. Of course, on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT, all inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. That is how you connect here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, Bob, we can hear you, but we can't see you. That's the only thing we're waiting for.
I'm trying to get. I don't know why I'm not on. I should be on.
All right. So we're waiting here to have Bob in here. So we did have we got a black screen, but we can hear his voice. We just can't see Bob at the moment. So hopefully we're going to restart it and see if we can pull that back in here and have the opportunity to bring Bob up on the screen with us here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, continuing the conversation, I should say, about collegiate athletics and the college football playoff, and getting Bob's thoughts after being a seasoned veteran in the world of college and professional football. So looking forward to having Bob here on the show on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. At this time, I want to thank all of our incredible partners as well for being a part of the show. Brooklyn Pickle down on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. They're down in the Pinehurst area, right by the Pinehurst golf courses, which are very well known. If Pinehurst is a name that sounds familiar, well, that's because the PGA comes through Pinehurst, and right down the road from those Pinehurst golf courses, you're going to find the wonderful Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. And a big time thanks to our incredible team of partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes Honda City, as well as Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Servomation, as well as Mother's Cupboard, Avicoli's Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Mon Paz, the snack capital of the world, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Pizza Man, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Brian's Landing, and of course we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins, Bryan and Stratton College's Syracuse Bobcats and the Binghamton University Bearcats. So with that being said, we're looking to bring in Bob.
I'm here, Dan.
Yeah, we got you here. We just can't see you. That's the only thing we can't do. We can't see you.
Well, I don't know what else.
Yeah.
I don't know what else I can do, to be honest with you.
That's all right. What I'll do, Bob, what I'll do is as long as we can hear you, that'll be fine. So what I'm going to do is I will bring you in this way. And so we'll go ahead and shift gears over here, and we'll bring in Bob on Zoom. So Bob, you can hear us okay?
Oh yeah, no problem.
All right. So we can hear Mr. Casullo. We're going to go ahead and bring him in and put up a nice picture. I found a nice picture of your mug, Bob. So we're going to put your picture up here, and we'll have that picture right by me. So
Dan, it says the host disabled attendee screen sharing.
I disassembled your attendee screen sharing. Well, let me see what that's. Let me do this here. So yeah, well we're not screen sharing, so that's one thing that we're not supposed to be doing in here is screen sharing. But yeah, the video wise, we should be able to see you. We can hear you perfectly. It's just a black screen, almost like it didn't load up for some reason. But
you got a good picture of me.
Yeah, we got a good picture of you. You got a nice hat on, and your goatee is all fresh in this picture. So, Mr. Casullo, how are we doing?
Doing well, thank you.
So, just to get right into it, when we come to the collegiate realm of this sports world that we're talking about here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. So, looking at the collegiate model, I know you and I have had a lot of different conversations about college athletics and about all the things going on with college athletics. Where things are right now, tampering seems like a normalcy. It seems like something that is, just kind of happening to the point where people don't even care what the NCAA thinks and institutions don't care. I've had multiple coaches and athletic directors reach out to me and tell me that they know that they have players that are being contacted. In the college football world alone for years now, I have had conversations with with the world of athletic directors and head coaches. In the college football playoff this season, I spoke with a school that knew while his team was practicing for the college football playoff, he knew that people were calling his players, asking them to get in the portal and offering them money. I'd love to get your thoughts.
Well, it's a different world, obviously, from when I was coaching. I'm going to say this about loyalty, okay? The coaches started this.
Yeah.
The players didn't start this. The coaches started this. And you could go to that pristine, holier-than-thou school, Notre Dame. They actually initiated it way back when they wanted Brian Kelly to be the coach. He was the head coach at the University of Cincinnati. They won 11-0. They were going to the Orange Bowl. And Notre Dame interviewed him and said, if you want the job, you got to take it now. And he quit Cincinnati, went to the University of Notre Dame. His team, Cincinnati, went to the Orange Bowl and got shut out 35-0. So when there's no loyalty with the coaches, and that's just one example.
Yeah.
Okay. How do you expect the players to do it? And furthermore, there's no such thing as an NCAA. There really never was. Now is proof that there isn't. Okay. This is you had a situation about 10, 12 years ago with a guy named Ed O'Bannon from UCLA that wanted to unionize the players. He wanted the players to get paid. And what he talked about was giving every scholarship athlete $1,000 a month. Okay? Well, let's say you've got, 200 scholarship athletes, 300 scholarship athletes in your athletic program at a college. That's $300,000. Okay? That's an offensive lineman today at a good Division I school. One lineman.
Yeah.
So they had their chance, and the quote NCAA block it, which is really the presidents of the university. So this is kind of in a way, this is karma. Now, you didn't want to pay an athlete $1,000 a month, okay? Now you're paying them, $3, $4, $5, $6 to $1 million a month. A year to play for your team. So it's karma. You had a chance to do it, and you didn't do it. So, like I said, there is no NCAA now. There's no regulations. They're trying to regulate. And the other thing is, it's the same schools. Okay, before everybody knew that the big time schools, they were paying players behind the scene. Of course they were. Now what happens is everybody can pay players behind the scene, but those teams have more money. So if you want to bid for a player, you're going to bid against the Georgia, Texas, and Alabama, so on and so forth. You get a chance unless you're opening the coffers up big time. And how many schools are going to do that? Long answer to a short question. I think it's catastrophic, but they got nobody to blame but themselves.
Yeah, and I would agree with you. I made this, and I think you and I spoke about this, but if we didn't, I'll just I'll refresh it to those. And of course, anybody who's new listening and watching around the country and the world here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I said 6 years ago that the NCAA would either exist very differently than we know it, or it wouldn't exist at all in the next 5 to 10 years. That was my prediction 6 years ago. I said 5 to 10 years from now, the NCAA will either fail to exist at all or they'll look drastically different. And 6 years later, the NCAA looks drastically different. It seems like they're hanging on by a thread. There seems to be no rules. Tampering doesn't matter. Collusion doesn't matter. Nothing matters when it comes to the NCAA right now. And, we've with NIL, which isn't bad that the players are getting something for the NCAA calling itself a non-for-profit organization, even though they make billions of dollars per year. They make a ton of money alone just on the men's and women's basketball tournaments. So when you look at what the NCAA said it was, and it's not, I'm okay with players getting something if it makes sense and there's an even playing field. If there's an even playing field, it's fine. But if you got schools down south that can afford it, and the Notre Dames and the Ohio States and the Penn States that can afford it, and maybe the Oregon that can afford it, when you have certain schools that were already getting the players, and maybe there was backdoor deals going on a long time ago, which you and I know that there was, but when there's different things, I'm not trying to say that it was those schools specifically, I'm just making note, the schools that continue to have in the NIL space because there's no regulation. The transfer portal, thinking that the transfer portal was going to exist separate of the name, image, and likeness side of things is just idiotic. Someone without a brain came to the table if they thought that NIL, that money and free agency weren't going to work together and that they were going to be mutually exclusive is out of their mind. I saw this coming. Unfortunately, I saw a lot of these things coming. And like you said, it started with disloyalty of a coach going to a team. I'm going to be here. I love you guys. You're my family. And then he's gone. Bob, in one season alone, in one conference in the FBS, in just one conference of the FBS, 3 coaches signed extensions. All 3 of those coaches were gone by the new year that had signed extensions that December or around that time were gone going into the new year, just from that one conference alone. Coaches that looked at their players and said, not only am I here, but I just signed a 3-year, a 4-year, a 2-year extension. And they were all gone to new teams, all gone to new institutions after that. You're right. The coaches have jumped ship. Institutions as a whole have been in the transfer portal for years. Coaches have been in the transfer portal for years. Now there's an actual transfer portal for student athletes, and people wonder why student athletes have no loyalty. Well, their schools aren't loyal to their conferences, and their coaches aren't loyal to their schools. So did you think that there was going to be a domino effect, that it was going to trickle down? That if a conference doesn't have a loyalty from a school, and a school doesn't have a loyalty from a coach, then why would a coach have loyalty from a player? It's just the next step in the de-evolution of the NCAA. So I don't think any of us should be surprised about what we're seeing.
No, I agree. And I remember when I was working for the Raiders and Al Davis, Mr. Davis, we sat down and had a conversation one time. This was at the time when Syracuse and several other schools were being courted by the ACC, and coaches were leaving and all over the place. And he said he asked me a question. I'll never forget this. He says, "Bob, what is a contract worth in college athletics?" And I says, "Mr. Davis, it ain't worth the paper it's written on." He goes, "Well, if you sign a 2-year deal to coach at Syracuse and you leave after 1 year, don't you have to pay back money?" "No." "Aren't you penalized?" "No." Well, why is there a contract? Basically, the contract protects the individual so that if nothing is better out there or nothing does happen after 1 year, okay, you got a second year. All right. Now, what probably most people don't know is if you sign a 2-year deal, at the end of the first year, I'm going in and I'm saying to the coach or to the administrator, whoever the decision maker is on contracts, and I'm saying, look, I had a 2-year contract. I like it here. We're doing a great job of building a program. I see a bright future here. Can you roll me over another year?
Yeah.
Which is a standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
Well, they could say no. So loyalty goes both ways, Dan. So when you start getting mad at the players, it was created long before the players got involved, and it's just there is no loyalty amongst thieves, to be perfectly honest with you, and now the players are in it, and all of a sudden it's a big hoopla. If I had a son that was a great Division I player, hell, I'd open up the bank vault. Take it while you can. This guy Ewers, this quarterback Ewers, he just committed to go to the NFL. You know why? He ain't good enough. He ain't good enough to get the big time money in college. I mean, that kid playing in front of Arch Manning is a joke. It's a joke. He's just a guy. You put him at Syracuse, he's half of what Kyle McCord did this year. Half. And so he's going to the NFL, where if he does make the team, he's going to make about $600,000. And he's making over $1 million at Texas. And supposedly he was offered $6 million to go to a rival college.
Yeah.
Okay. But he ain't good enough. He ain't good enough. So he's going to go to the NFL, where he'll probably kick around for 4, 5, 6 years. In my opinion, he's never going to start. But it's just, I don't know. The whole thing is upside down.
I mean, we're looking at the amount of money that some of these players make in the NFL. Keep in mind, Derrick Henry, who is now a 2,000-yard back at age 30 in the NFL this season, is making under $4 million a year. I want you to put that in the back of your mind when I read off these numbers. These are the alleged numbers on the current NIL deals at the top of college football. Arch Manning at Texas, number 1 overall for all NIL deals, $6.6 million. Number 2, Shedeur Sanders, quarterback of Colorado, $6.5 million. Number 3, Travis Hunter, the two-way player for Colorado, $5.7 million. Number 4, Quinn Ewers of Texas, $4.5 million. For those of you, I mean, think about this. That means that down in Texas, between Arch Manning and Quinn Ewers, just their two quarterbacks, their starter and their backup, over $10 million spent on two guys at the same position, where only one can play at a time. Carson,
and then you got, I don't mean to interrupt you, but and then you got Brock Purdy, who's been to 2 Super Bowls in the NFL with the 49ers.
Yeah.
Okay? He's still on his rookie contract.
Yeah.
Think about that for a minute. How much money did he lose by going to the NFL? Is that not ironic?
Yeah. It's crazy. And that was one of the things that was brought up when Brock Purdy made it most recently was, here's all the guys that are making more money than Brock Purdy in college football currently. One of those guys being Shedeur Sanders. And then Arch Manning, sitting on a bench. Arch Manning is making more money than a Super Bowl caliber quarterback in Brock Purdy. Carson Beck, number 5, going from Georgia to Miami, allegedly finding $4.4 million in the transfer portal. DJ Lagway of the Gators, $3.7 million, comes in at number 6. Jeremiah Smith, who will be in the national championship game on Monday, January 20th. I'll be down there in Atlanta. Jeremiah Smith, who was shut down by Texas, he had $3.7 million in his current NIL deal so far. Garrett Nussmeier, the quarterback of LSU, $3.6 million. Lenoris Sellers, who is committed to Syracuse, decommitted and went to South Carolina and stayed in his home state because he's from Florence, $3.4 million at South Carolina. Drew Aller, who was just bumped out of the college football playoff, who threw no touchdown passes in 2 of the 3 games that Penn State was in, leaning on their defense heavily. Not that he's a bad quarterback, but it's good that he's staying. I think hopefully we'll see an uptick with him this upcoming season. He's a true junior. He'll be a true senior. $3.4 million at Penn State. Cade Klubnik at Clemson, $3.3 million. And the list goes on and on. Nico Imamaeva,
Dan,
he had 3.1.
Dan, let me interrupt you for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me interrupt you for a second.
Go ahead.
Okay? Your point is well taken.
Yep.
Here's the question.
Yep.
Okay? Here's the question I got. Kyle McCord, Syracuse University. Okay?
Yep.
Name one of those quarterbacks that you just mentioned that would come to Syracuse and forget better than him, would do equal to him. And I'm trying to make a point here. Okay? This kid, because he went to Syracuse, which is one of the most misaligned schools in the NCAA. They win 10 games. Okay, their quarterback is the number 1 quarterback in the country. You don't even hear about him outside of upstate New York. You don't even hear about him. Okay, so one of 2 things happened here. Syracuse got the greatest bargain in the history of college athletics. Okay, or these other teams are dumb. Now, let me say this to you. Okay, if you put any one of those quarterbacks you just mentioned and trade places with Kyle McCord at Syracuse, what would happen first? Kyle McCord equal to or better to than the new school he'd go to, and that college quarterback go to Syracuse equal to, better than, or less than what Kyle McCord did at Syracuse. My point is, individually, this kid is pretty damn good. Okay? Right? He's pretty good. Number 1 quarterback in the country. Way back when, Donnie McPherson was probably the top quarterback in the country at Syracuse. He finished second to Tim Brown at Notre Dame in the Heisman Trophy voting. Okay, that's realistic. Close but no cigar. Kyle McCord finished 10th. Syracuse went 10-3. Are you kidding me, guys? Are you kidding me? You don't think this whole thing is slanted? This whole thing is slanted. There's only, I tell you this 100 times, Dan, there's only 20 teams that the country cares about. How about the championship game Monday night? You don't think ESPN is high-fiving themselves daily?
Yeah.
They got Notre Dame playing Ohio State in the national championship game. I mean, where is everybody else? I mean, it's a long, sad story, Dan, and it ain't going to be fixed. It can't be fixed. It's all about the money. But my point is the school. Look at they bashed Indiana. They bashed Boise State. They bashed Arizona State. And quite frankly, okay, those teams had exceptional seasons. But really, did they deserve to be in the top 12? I mean, come on. You know, but anyways, they were there. Did they hold their own? No. I mean, you know, it was a nice gesture to put them there. But and then instead of ranking 1 through 12, they made the 5 conference winners, the 4 of them get byes. Come on, people. I mean, please just put the teams in them. Look, you realize who didn't make the 12? Michigan, Alabama, all 3 Florida schools, Oklahoma, Southern Cal. I'm talking about teams that have won the national championship in our lifetime, our decade, this century. Teams that have won and didn't even make the playoffs. You know, come on, people. So, you know what would be a nice playoff? Indiana, Arizona State, Boise State, Syracuse, Vanderbilt, Duke. They all won 10 games. Well, I don't think Vanderbilt did, but they all won 10 games. Put them in their own bracket and let them play off, because and put it on TNT or something, because ESPN and Fox, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it. They don't want Michigan 6-6. Okay, probably had more votes to go to the Final 12, than Boise State did. And then behind the scenes, they said, we can't do this. We can't do this, But nobody wanted Boise State. They would have taken the same thing with Notre Dame. All Notre Dame's got to do is win one more game than they lose, and they're in playoff consideration. It's sad. And I feel bad for these other schools. I mean, here's something else. I'm on a rant now, so you got to listen, okay? Here's something else. If Syracuse doesn't lose to Stanford, okay?
Yeah.
They're 10-2, all right? Why wouldn't they be considered for the playoffs? If they win their bowl game, they're 11-2. What are they, 23rd? 23rd in the country right now? I said, come on, people. Come on. If you're not going to respect schools for what they do on the field, then stop all this crap of ranking teams. Just put your Michigans and your Notre Dames and your Ohio States and your Florida schools and Georgia. Just put them and rank them, and all the rest. Let all the rest of the teams have their own set of rankings. And I mean, how about a Syracuse Indiana game? Wouldn't that be a good game? I mean, come on, But there's I don't know. It's frustrating. And guys that are at the schools, other than the top 20 of the schools, who they are. The Michigans, the Florida. Other than those schools, the rest of the colleges, it's fun. You got to make it fun, because there's nothing you can shoot for. Now, the NCAA, you think is ever going to throw another bone to a Boise State or an Indiana or an Arizona State? They're going to redefine the conferences before they'll do this again. They just got buried for this, So that's my rant, and I'm sticking to it. And college football, you know what the best part of Saturday is? You get to watch pro football the next day.
Well, and the thing, and here with Bob Casullo, longtime college and pro football coach here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios.
Hey, Dan, let me say this to you, too. Imagine going back when we were recruiting Marvin Harrison, Donovan McNabb, Rob Conrad, Chris Gedney, Conrad, and just on and on and on and on with all these great players we had back then. They were all on the same team. Would Syracuse have been able to pay them top caliber money to keep them? The answer is no. Right. No, we would have never been able to put together those dynamic teams in the 80s and early 90s, from 86, 87 to 95, 94, 95. That 10-year stretch, Syracuse University would have been broke. Or they would have never committed to it in the first place, and you wouldn't have had those phenomenal teams. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, you look at this is the thing, Bob, and you make perfect sense. I mean, what you were just saying while I was sitting here thinking about it, and a lot of different things, and I'm going to touch on a bunch of points, but the one you just made, if Marvin Harrison and Donovan McNabb and Kevin Johnson and Tabucky Jones, all these guys, Rob Conrad, if this was during NIL, none of these guys would be at Syracuse.
You got it. You're right.
None of these guys would be at Syracuse. And that's the reality, because Syracuse has an endowment. They have a lot of money, but they claim poverty all the time, and they're always cheap. So when it comes to spending money, they don't do that. And when you have these other schools, when you have a school in Texas, when you have the University of Texas in Austin that can sit there and spend over $10 million on two guys when they know that only one of them is going to play and the other one's going to sit with $6 million on the bench or sit with $4 million on the bench, and they don't care, that's Texas money. So, I mean, when you look at teams like that, when you look at Notre Dame and you look at Penn State, you got 100,000 seats. I just went to Beaver Stadium for the first time ever. Went to the first round of the college football playoff, Penn State up against SMU. Over 100,000 people. There was a few red shirts. Most of that building was white. And they had a whiteout for Penn State for the Nittany Lions. They were coming into the stadium for like 4 hours. And, you know, all the way going into the game, they're still coming into the stadium. That entire experience was insane. You look at Notre Dame, over 100,000 people. You look at Ohio State, we're talking about 100,000 people. You know, there's certain places that are going to have the money and they're going to have the I mean, I look at this right now, Ohio State versus Notre Dame. You got 200,000 seat stadiums when these teams play at home. How hard is it to get a ticket? I'll tell you this right now. If you want a hotel down in Atlanta, Georgia, you can find one on the outskirts for $70, $60, $100, or you can find ones that are $300, that are almost $300, $400, $500 a night. Some of the hotels right now in Atlanta, Georgia, for one night stay, $3,999 for one night at the Omni. So let's be real about this. And you said it. The Blue Bloods, they're the ones that sell the tickets. You said ESPN's high-fiving each other because the Blue Bloods are the ones that sell the tickets. You got a 100,000-seat stadium and a 100,000-seat stadium. So at worst, you got 200,000 people trying to get into Mercedes-Benz Stadium to see this game. There's a lot of people from all over the country and the world that want to see this because of the history of Ohio State and the history of Notre Dame. Now, what you said when you said, what about Syracuse, Indiana? What about Duke? What about Ole Miss gets 3 losses? They're a dangerous team. I wouldn't want to play them in the college football playoff this year. I wouldn't want to play a 3-loss South Carolina. Just mentioned their quarterback, Lenora Sellers, one of the top 10 in NIL money this season. So you look at Lenoris in South Carolina, they had 3 losses, but they came on toward the end of the season. Alabama came on. They did some good things this year. They had 3 losses going into bowl season. And then this Michigan team, this 500 Michigan team, is arguably one of the best Michigan teams in the last 30 years. They beat Alabama and Ohio State in their last couple weeks of the season, but they didn't get in the college football playoff because they had multiple losses. They had 5 losses at the time. So when you look at where we're at, Bob, and here's my thing. Do I want there to be a door? Have I fought forever for a door for the American, Conference USA, the MAC, the Mountain West, and the Sun Belt? I absolutely have. But this is what it's becoming, and you alluded to it. It has become, when you said 15 to 20 programs are the ones that people care about. What this is becoming, to go to another prediction, on top of the NCAA prediction, back when COVID started in 2020, around that time period, I made the prediction that the SEC would go off on their own. Before that happened, I spoke with then ACC Commissioner John Swofford, and when I spoke with John Swofford multiple times, we had a lot of fireside chats. And I said, John, this autonomy group, autonomy means self-governing. You guys didn't just pick this term on accident. These 5 conferences, the Big 12, the Pac-12, the Big 10, the ACC, and the SEC, to say you're autonomous is to say that you essentially are floating on your own island within the country of the NCAA, but at any given time, you can declare yourself an independent country. So are we going there? And he said it's not out of the realm of possibility, but it's not something that we're looking at right now. But it was never out of it. And that was before 2020. Then he retires, then COVID happens, then all this stuff starts going on with NIL, and I start looking at this more, and I say to myself, well, if the SEC left today and started their own college football playoff, and it was just the SEC, people would watch it because you're claiming Texas, you're claiming Oklahoma, you already have Auburn and Arkansas and Kentucky and Alabama and Georgia and Florida and LSU, and Vanderbilt had a good season this year. Missouri, they've had a good couple of years, or arguable last year was a better year. But you look at all those teams in the SEC, that's a sellable product. Then the Big Ten goes, and they don't take from the ACC. And they don't take from the American. But the Big Ten goes to the West Coast, and they take the teams that you would never, ever think would make any sense that are over 2,000 miles away. and they take USC and UCLA first, Oregon and Washington shortly after. And when I put that map up on the screen, I showed people the Midwest, the Northeast, the middle of the country South, the Southeast, and the West Coast are all within 2 conferences. If Clemson, Florida State, and or Miami, plus Notre Dame, were to join the SEC Big Ten conglomerate, is there any major logo not included in 2 conferences, in essence, creating a mega conference, or an SEC does their thing, the Big Ten does their thing, they both have a playoff within their conference, then they play for a national championship. If a few more pieces fall, Bob, one of them is in the college football playoff right now in Notre Dame, the other one's already in the Big Ten in Ohio State. If these pieces fall, the prediction that I made now going into 5 years ago of the SEC being their own thing, the Big Ten wanting to join that, so going and getting those West Coast schools. Clemson, we know publicly, has tried to get out of the ACC. Publicly, we know Florida State has tried to get out of the ACC. Miami, I don't believe, has loyalty to anybody. They have loyalty to probably where the best place is going to be for them, which would be to join this as well. And Notre Dame, well, I already treat them like a Big Ten school because they get the same advantages the Big Ten schools get in the rankings. So if a few more pieces fall, Bob, to your point, to my point, and to the grand old point of what we're seeing here, are we not just creating eventually an SEC Big Ten Notre Dame conglomerate that works together for their own college football playoff, and that whoever wins that national championship is going to be considered the national champion because the Big 12 that has no identifier anymore, the ACC would not have an identifier, and then the AAC, the Mountain West, the MAC, the Sun Belt, and Conference USA are not given the respect right now at all. Maybe sometimes, but everything's got to work out for Cincinnati to get in there a few years ago. Are we not seeing what you've been saying, what I've been saying to each other here on Wake Up Call over the years, that we're heading toward an SEC Big Ten, Notre Dame, we got all the blue bloods, we don't need anybody else, and screw you and what you guys are going to do. Syracuse and Indiana, have at it, but to the rest of the world, this is our championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Honestly, that's what it is now. And they just tokenly brought in those other teams. I mean, how do you think the ESPN felt when SMU beat Clemson in the ACC championship game? They were low fiving then. They were absolutely pissed off. There's no way you want SMU over Clemson in the Final 12. And then Miami losing to Syracuse. Same thing. But, you make a good point. Is it ever going to happen? I'm going to tell you why it's never going to happen. You ready for this?
Go ahead.
Never going to happen for one reason. Notre Dame. They ain't ever joining the league, folks. See how much money they're making already that goes into their coffers? While Ohio State, all the money they made has to get split amongst the Big Ten schools. Okay?
Yeah.
Notre Dame has made $20 million without the final game. There is no power in your NCAA world. By your, I don't mean you, I mean the people. Yeah. NCAA world. There's no power that is ever powerful enough to say to Notre Dame, you don't go to a league, you ain't playing. Ain't happening, boys and girls. 2 things. That ain't happening, and they ain't going to a league. You ain't keeping them out, and they ain't coming in. So you reward them by saying you could be the 5th place team. You think Notre Dame cares? It's money in their pocket. Yeah. We'll be the 12th place team. We don't care because we're going to beat those teams, to get to the Final Four. It's Notre Dame is the ruination of any future combination that you, I, somebody else, the Pope could make up. Notre Dame will never, ever, never give up what they got. And don't forget that.
Well, and that's the thing is, I got the question last week, how do you get Notre Dame? What is a way of getting Notre Dame to join a conference? I said, there's only one way, but you brought it up that you don't think it's going to happen, but there's only one way that they would ever do it. There's only one way to get Notre Dame to join a conference. It's not money, because they got money. And by the way, and you just stated it so eloquently and so clearly, Notre Dame gets to keep all the money that they made in the college football playoff. Ohio State has to look back at the Big Ten and say, okay, Penn State, respect. You came with me to the Final Four. But to the rest of y'all, knuckleheads out here, I got to give money to Rutgers. I got to give money to Maryland. I got to give money to Minnesota. For what? They didn't do anything. I got here. But Notre Dame is going home with 100% of the money that they earned in the college football playoff. So I hear your point, and I'm saying this just for argument's sake. The only way to ever get Notre Dame, and you, the reason why you said you think it's not going to happen is because you don't believe there's a powerful body to really stick by this. But the only way to get Notre Dame to ever join a conference is for the College Football Playoff Committee to sit in front of Notre Dame and say, you cannot qualify for the college football playoff, and hence will never win a national championship again unless you join a conference with the opportunity to play for a conference championship. If you do not join a conference, you can't qualify. That is the only way to get them in. But refuting that, Mr. Casullo, I spoke with a commissioner of one of these FBS conferences. And I said to him, it seems like if Notre Dame wins 11 or 12 of their 12 games every year, no matter who they play, they're in. He looked at me and said to me, eye to eye, Dan, that's already written. It's already there. This isn't a thought. This is something that's protected. Notre Dame does, if they get to 11-1 or 12-0, Dan, it's already written. It's in our laws that they have to be, that they're essentially protected. So if they go 11-1 or 12-0, they're in.
And here's something else, Dan. Okay? They make up their own schedule.
Right.
They don't have, if they're in the Big Ten, the Big Ten sets the schedules.
Right.
If they're in the SEC sets the schedules. The ACC sets the schedules. Notre Dame sets their own schedules so they can almost guarantee 10 wins every year. You can guarantee. Now, they don't lose to Northern Illinois, which is a complete anomaly, just a bad day for college football, according to the gods. Okay? Right now, they're what? 14-0? 13-0? 14-0? They didn't lose another game. But their schedule, if I hear one more person say that they had a difficult schedule and they count Army and Navy as a difficult part of it, they beat them both by a combined score of like 90-20. Okay, and I'm not being critical of Army and Navy. Army and Navy, if they combined their teams, couldn't beat Notre Dame.
Yeah.
You know, so I mean, it ain't happening. They got how about this? They got their own TV network, NBC. How many times did Notre Dame this past year or any year play on the Saturday night featured game in ESPN? So not only do they have their own league, okay, if they're playing another opponent and that opponent gets to televised because of their league affiliation, Notre Dame gets that money too. It ain't never happened. Ain't never happened.
Looking at Notre Dame's future schedules, next season they will play at Miami to start off the season. They have Texas A&M. They have Purdue, who is the worst team in the Big Ten this year, did not win a Big Ten game. They will be at Arkansas, who's kind of middle of the road of the SEC. They'll have Boise State without Ashton Genty. They'll have USC, who is overranked this year. They will have Navy. They'll have NC State, who was not ranked at the end of the season. They'll have Syracuse, who is ranked 21 going into their bowl game. They'll be at Pitt and at Boston College to end those games are to be determined, so that's not technically the end. Those are just games that are still to be determined. Some are scheduled, some don't have dates yet. Then we have Wisconsin in 2026, who's always overranked. Michigan State, who shouldn't be ranked. Most of the time, they're ranked and then they fall out. Purdue again. North Carolina with Bill Bellies, maybe, in 2026 if he's not just going for a year. Then you have Navy. Then you have at USC, Miami, Syracuse, SMU, and Florida State. and we'll figure out if Florida State can find themselves a quarterback. So that's the next 2 years of scheduling. And if I look at the next 2 years of Notre Dame scheduling, their toughest games, arguably from just a look right now in this moment, keep in mind, Cam Ward's not going to be there anymore. So they're going to have Carson Beck. But I look at Miami over the next 2 years for Notre Dame, their toughest games, Miami, maybe Texas A&M. So that's 2. And that's it in 2025 of those games that are maybe those upper echelon games. In 2026, the upper echelon games, Miami, we'll see where SMU's at. We'll see where Florida State's at. But, I mean, essentially, we're looking at a schedule where if I'm only naming 2, maybe 3, I mean, next year they're playing Miami without Cam Ward. They're playing Syracuse without Kyle McCord. They're playing Boise State without Ashton Genty. So, and then you got a bad Purdue team. You got a Navy team that committed 5 turnovers against them, really bit themselves in the foot. And I think Army and Navy, I probably regard them higher than you do. But I know that that's a game, the Army-Navy games are the ones that Notre Dame anticipates. I mean, typically they're on the winning side. They play USC all the time, but USC is not what they used to be. And Pitt and Boston College are, to me, not really a threat for Notre Dame. So just looking at their schedule next year and looking at all the games that they have on the schedule, I'm seeing another 11-1, at worst 10-2 season, to your point, Bob, because they get to make their schedule. Yes, they have to have ACC games. They have a deal with the ACC. But let's go a little bit farther with Notre Dame. Notre Dame goes to the ACC when the Big East football is blowing up and they don't know what's going to happen and they lose football, and then they become the American Athletic Conference. Notre Dame leaves the Big East in all of their other sports. They go to the ACC. How does Notre Dame pull this off? I just want to get your thoughts from being in rooms before and being throughout collegiate athletics and professional ranks as well. How does Notre Dame go to the ACC when they have no home for any of their sports outside of football and say to the ACC, we want you to put us in. We're going to put all of our sports in here except for football. We're going to hear you out on football, but we're never going to come in except for the COVID year where they made that deal for the 1 year and made money off of it and played in the ACC championship, so made more money from the ACC, so it benefited Notre Dame. But how does Notre Dame go into the ACC without a home and the Big East just crumbling their football and all this stuff and trying to figure things out and what they're going to be, and the Catholic Seven becoming the new Big East, and Notre Dame says to the ACC, we're going to keep 100% of our income from football, and then you're going to give us a share, an even share of your pie for all the rest of our sports in the ACC. So we're going to get 100% of football, and then we're going to take ACC money because we feel like it. How does the ACC say yes to that?
That's above my pay grade. But,
I'm just asking.
It's just to the average Joe like me and you, it doesn't make any sense at all. But I suppose when you put dollars and cents down on a spreadsheet, which I'm sure the ACC finance departments have done, and they put spreadsheets together with Notre Dame, and they put spreadsheets together without Notre Dame. How many national TV games are we going to get with Notre Dame? How many are we going to get without Notre Dame? How many basketball games are we going to get with Notre Dame on CBS, without Notre Dame on CBS? That's all been factored in. And it all comes down to money. You know that, Dan. Come on, it all comes down to money, and you get exposure with Notre Dame, so you get money. Okay? And it's if Syracuse plays Notre Dame, okay, on a Saturday night on ESPN, that money goes into the ACC coffers. But Notre Dame gets their share, But still, Syracuse playing Pittsburgh is not going to be Saturday night at 7:30.
Yeah.
Duke playing North Carolina State is not going to be Saturday night at 7:30. Duke playing Notre Dame, and Duke was having a good year. It might be on Saturday night. That's more money. It's all about the Benjamins. I mean, we're kicking a dead horse.
Yeah. No, it's crazy. So. The reality is the naming thing. The funny thing is that Notre Dame comes in and says, don't you want our name? And the ACC, oh, of course I want your name. Well, can we have football? No, but we can talk about it. I'm sure they probably dance with it, make you think that they're going to accept your, it's kind of like that person you keep asking out and they say maybe, but they don't say no. So It's that thought of like, yeah, maybe we'll do football someday, but let us have all this stuff in here. We'll make you money because we got the Notre Dame name. Whether we win or lose, we're going to make you money. Notre Dame hasn't played well in men's basketball in the last few years, but they're sitting here, well, we'll make you money. Yeah, but that money goes back to Notre Dame eventually. They're smart. Listen, whoever came up with Notre Dame's deal and did their business plan, genius. Absolute genius. And UConn is also independent, and they are not even anywhere close to the plan that Notre Dame has. Bob, before I let you go, we are in the national championship. We have Ohio State. We have Notre Dame. Two-part question for you. One, even with a 12-team playoff, do you believe the Blue Bloods will always make it to the end, coming off of a point that you made earlier? And two, who do you think is going to win this game?
The Blue Bloods will always be in a championship game, as the way college football is right now, because of the programs I mentioned to you that aren't in. Okay? I'll give you a reason why. Florida State's not in because he's not a Florida State caliber coach. Southern Cal's not in. He's not a Southern Cal caliber coach. Okay? Florida, same thing. All right? Same thing. Michigan, he ain't Jim Harbaugh. I don't care who he is, he ain't Jim Harbaugh. Look what's happened at Oklahoma. Look what's happening at Nebraska. Okay? After Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson left, and not Jimmy Johnson, Barry Switzer left Oklahoma, and after Devaney left Nebraska, let me tell you something. You got to make the program big time. Those programs are not going to make it. They're not with the current coaches. I'll give you this. Matt Rule at Nebraska is going to do a nice job, but he's never going to get them back to where they were with Coach Devaney, okay, or Tom Osborne, okay. And Oklahoma, I mean, this guy that they got there now is as good a defensive coordinator as there is, but he's obviously not a head coach, okay. So, but my point is this, all right. You got to have the right coaches and the right programs to get these programs back. You really do. Now, I'm going to give you two examples. Syracuse and Alabama, okay? Syracuse has a guy before Coach Brown from California. He has one good year, okay? He doesn't know East Coast recruiting. He doesn't know jack anything, okay? Worst, him and Robinson were two of the worst hires Syracuse could ever make. They go out and they get Fran Brown from where? New Jersey. Yeah. He's a Northeast guy, okay? Now let's go to Alabama. They have Nick Saban. Nick Saban's from West Virginia, which is borderline Southern, but I work for Nick Saban. He's a little more Southern than he is Northern, okay?
Yeah.
He leaves. They go get a guy from the state of Washington who's a Northwest geographical guy, okay? It's awful. The choices these schools make, you got to get back to be geographically correct. Auburn, when they had this guy, what was his name? Brian Harrison. He came from Idaho or Utah State or something. I don't know. He destroyed the program. You know, you don't see Georgia going out and hire somebody from Minnesota, do you? Kirby Smart played for them. You know what I mean? How about Georgia Tech? They finally got to be recognized. Okay? Brent Key played for us when I was at Georgia Tech. He's from there. Yeah. He's from right over the border in a little small town in Alabama. You have to be geographically correct with who you hire. Billy O'Brien going back to Boston College. You have to be geographically correct. And that's how you make these programs better. Okay? But my point is, in order to get Florida State, the recognized team, Florida State, Michigan, Southern Cal, back into the thick of things, you have to get coaches that can relate to the geography of the school, okay? Because that's still what it's all about. And once that happens, all the rest of the program, it's I've made my point. It's it's over. Who's going to win the game Monday night? The way Ohio State's playing, I think they'll win the game. I think it'll be closer than the 9.5-point spread. But what do I know? What do I know? But Ohio State, Ryan Day, I'm not a fan of his. I don't think he deserved to get that job. But what he's done since the Michigan loss is commendable. And the guy at Notre Dame got the best job in America. If he even considers going to the NFL, he's a fool. Maybe 2 or 3 more years down the road, he might say, I'd really like to try that. But for now, he's got the best job in America, barring any sport. He's doing great.
Yeah.
And Fran Brown, to get back to him, he did a phenomenal job. Yeah. Fantastic job. Hey, Syracuse University administration, hold on to your hats, boys and girls. Okay? This guy keeps having these seasons. You better open up the bank vault because a lot of other schools will.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you this right now. If Syracuse opens up the bank, if they open up their coffers, there's going to be bats and dust in there. But I do want to get to this really quick because you mentioned it. You glazed over it, Bob, and I can't let you glaze over it. You worked for Nick Saban. Thoughts on working for Nick Saban? Do you really believe that he left because of NIL and the transfer portal and the chaos that's here? And will he ever come back?
He's a great coach. I mean, the 1 year I worked for him was a fantastic, and I worked for a lot of great head coaches. Okay. Did he leave because of the NIL? I think he left because he was no longer part of the good old boy network where there was only maybe 10 schools that already had NILs secretly behind the scenes in place, and Nick would be afraid of happening to him what has happened to Dabo Swinney. Okay? Dabo Swinney no longer is one of the 10 schools in the country that pay their players. He's not one of 120 schools that pay their players. Okay? And this is as good as he can do, which is 9 wins. I don't think Nick got out specifically for that, but I think Nick saw the writing on the wall. If I got to start bidding for players against the field, whereas before I was only bidding against Auburn or Georgia, I'm too old for this. You know what I mean? If he was younger, he would have done that. He would have done that. What was the other part of your question?
Do you think that Nick will ever come back if they can somehow corral this thing?
He's my age. We're the same age, 73, soon to be 74. I know his wife. She's Miss Terry rules the roost. I think if she gives him the go-ahead, he'll go back. But what's he got to accomplish? I mean, is he going to go back? I mean, West Virginia was the perfect job for him because he's from there. Yeah. They go there, make them a powerhouse in whatever league they're in, Big 12, Big 20, whatever the hell it is. But what's that? He's already done that. He's already done all that stuff. Now he's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. He's done. And you know what? James Franklin, he made a terrific point. You want to make a commissioner of college football? Nick Saban is the guy. I would vote for him over anybody else in the country. He's the guy that could straighten out or at least lead college football in the right direction, point them in the right direction, and guide them in the right direction. He's the guy that could do it.
Maybe that was the plan the whole time. Final point here, Mr. Casullo. Head coaches becoming coordinators. Al Golden, who was a head coach down in Miami, Al Golden becomes the defensive coordinator, of Notre Dame. Ryan Day hires Chip Kelly, who was a head coach in the NFL, most recently a head coach at UCLA. He's now in his first season as an offensive coordinator for Ohio State. We just saw Gus Malzahn leave his post as the UCF head coach to become the offensive coordinator at Florida State. Thoughts on head coaches becoming coordinators and the fact that we have 2 of them in the national championship game?
They have all the money they need for the rest of their life. They're getting paid great money to be a coordinator, not head coach's money, but they're getting paid great money to be a coordinator. And guess what? There's nothing to do with the NIL with a coordinator or an assistant coach. It's all on the head coach Now he will consult them, okay,
Yeah.
but it's not their responsibility. Look, Al Golden can say, or Chip Kelly can say, look, I really think we need to go get this guy from wherever. The quarterback from Stanford's really good. He's the guy we need to make our program go. Okay. And now it's up to the head coach, Ryan Day, and the NIL people getting into the boardroom, having their cigars, saying, okay, let's throw the money in the pot. We got him. But that's not Chip Kelly there. You know what I'm saying? Or that's not Al Golden. They made their recommendation, but they don't have to go through the process. I think that weighs a lot on it. But the big factor is these guys got all the money they need. You know, they got all the money. And other than saying, geez, I'd really like to be a head coach again because I wasn't really as successful at the end as I wanted to be. Other than that, there's no reason to go back because they all have agents. They all have financial advisors, and they're all making more money now as assistant coaches than they probably were making as head coaches 10 years ago. So, you know, I don't know. Yeah, Gus Malzahn, I'm not a fan of his. I mean, Florida State, that guy down there is incomplete. I don't want to say a joke, but, you know, that's the wrong guy in the wrong place again, you know. But that's my answer for that. Those guys got enough money. They don't need the hassle. He got more money in his wallet than you and I got in our bank accounts.
Well, Bob Casullo giving us, and I love it, always that real talk. Bob, every time I talk to you, it makes me want to sit with you in person and just hang out at some restaurant in nice weather and just relax and have a good time. The last time we saw each other, we were down in Boca Raton. I would love the opportunity to spend some time in person because every time we catch up, it reminds me that it's been too long. So thank you for your time.
By the way, Dan, that bowl game that we got beat 45-0, that's a black eye for the program that's going to take a long time to undo because Syracuse University this year, Washington State was a good team, but then they lost everybody.
Yeah. Okay,
there were so many other better college games. Syracuse, South Carolina, you know what I mean? Teams like that they could have played, and they could have played again. You think a Florida bowl game is going to take Syracuse after that debacle that Babers put them in last year or 2 years ago? It's a sad testament because Fran Brown's team deserved to be on the East Coast in a Florida bowl where they could get thousands and thousands of people to the game.
Yeah.
But because of that clown show 3 years ago, 45-0, okay, that ain't going to happen in Florida for a long time. Sad because Syracuse is going to be competitive from here on out because they got the right guy and they got the right people.
Well, no matter what happens, and it's a point well taken here, but no matter what happens, Bob, you and I can always spend time in Florida whenever we want to. So, but I appreciate it.
How much money do you make? Because I got some good restaurants that have good wine and you can smoke cigars out back.
Yeah, well, that's the thing is like that's what I think about when I think about you, Bob. I'm like, okay, is there a nice drink and is there a cigar opportunity? So,
Absolutely.
Mr. Casullo,
absolutely,
you and I will see each other soon. Thank you for your time as always, and please give my best to your children as well as to your wonderful wife. And I look forward to talking with you soon. And Happy New Year.
Thanks, Dan. Take care.
Take care. That coming from Bob Casullo one more time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Always appreciate having Bob on the show and appreciate his friendship more than anything. Here on Wake Up Call, we're going to take a step aside for a fast break. When we spin back around here where sports meets life, you will find us wrapping up today's show. I can't believe it's already over. Great conversation, and it always opens the door for more conversation. And then we run out of time, we got to do it another day. But that's the beauty of life, is to create a good conversation between a bunch of people, have fun, enjoy it, and always look forward to the next one. We'll be back right after this. Avicoli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicoli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicoli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there, and of course you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100, and also find them on myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315 432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. He kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily, and we bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks. Guess what, folks? Tonight, that's right, tonight, I've been waiting impatiently for this. Tonight is GG Cards and Breaks trade night. It's going to be at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Say it with your chest. Can't wait to be out there. Very excited to be at the Wildcat Sports Pub tonight. Great food, awesome people, awesome card community. If you've never collected cards before, you're welcome to come to the show and start today. And if you've collected your whole life, well, guess what? You know where to be. GG Cards and Breaks. 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is their store location. Tonight, we're bringing GG Cards and Breaks on the road to the Wildcat, 3680 Milton Avenue, Camillus, New York, in the Home Depot Plaza. We'll see you at the Wildcat for GG Cards and Breaks trade night, 6 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. at the Wildcat. We're going to be having a great time tonight, doing some cool stuff. I'll be on stage with my cards to buy, sell, and trade. So come out and see me. I got a lot of cool stuff that I've been holding on to, and I waited, and now I'm unleashing it at trade night tonight at GG Cards and Breaks trade night. Can't wait to see you out there. Looking forward to it. Of course, GG Cards and Breaks store is open for you Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and on Sundays from 10 to 5 on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Tonight, GG Cards and Breaks at the Wildcat. Throughout the week, they are right off of Teal Ave on 639 Delmar Place. We look forward to seeing you out there. Disney Lorcana, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, hockey, soccer, baseball, basketball, football. Oh my goodness, we all get to be big kids no matter what our ages are. And that is thanks to GG Cards and Breaks. An awesome place to support local and support our beautiful central and upstate New York community today. With that being said, I want to thank you for being a part of the show. The Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We love working with Great Lakes. That's where I get my cars every single time it comes due for me to go get myself a vehicle. For over a decade, I have trusted Great Lakes Honda City, who a lot of you know as Honda City of Liverpool, and they switched that name here in recent history to Great Lakes Honda City on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open Monday through Saturday. You can find out more information by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. You could also go to wakeupcalldt.com and click on the Great Lakes Honda City logo. That'll take you straight to their website. So, many thanks to everybody that's watched and listened on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Once we go live, we hop into the archives, Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, YouTube, and more. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on your favorite podcasting platform, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And of course, you can look us up on any search engine, the Google, Safari, Firefox, so on and so forth, and you will find all that we have to offer from Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Big time thanks to our incredible partner down in Pinehurst area, and that is the wonderful, incomparable Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina, right down the road from Pinehurst Golf Courses. Make sure you go and visit them today. Let them know the DT sent you. And, of course, many thanks to our team in Central and Upstate New York of incredible partners: Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Servomation, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, and Brian's Landing. And, of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It's Fins Up every single month with the Dolphins. Wednesdays at 9 a.m. Eastern Time is what we call Dolphin Time. And you can find the Dolphins on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Student athletes, coaches, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni hanging out with me where sports meets life. All of our content is on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Lemoyne Dolphins playlist. The Dolphins are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com and Fins Up. The Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bobcats every single month with student athletes, coaches, and administration. Big time shout out once again to the new AD of the Syracuse Bobcats here for Bryan and Stratton College. Big time thanks and big time ups, and a lot of appreciation and excitement for Brooke Parro joining us here with her leadership going into this new era. New year, new athletics director as Bryan and Stratton Syracuse steps forward. Excited for Brooke, and of course excited for men's basketball head coach Clay Gagan Sherman, who adds assistant athletic director to his titles with Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. So very excited for the leadership and very excited for all that is to come. This morning, we had the breaking news exclusively that Stuart Flaherty is the new head coach of the men's soccer team at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse, and he comes with a wealth of experience in NCAA Division I, Division II, Division III. He's also worked in the professional ranks and been a national champion at the professional ranks. So much appreciation and respect and excitement for Stuart Flaherty for being here with us as the new men's soccer head coach at Bryan and Stratton College of Syracuse. Excited to have him on the show in the exclusive first interview since accepting the job, and that'll be coming up tomorrow. So very excited to have him on the broadcast for that. And of course, the exclusive story on him joining the Bobcats is already up on wakeupcalldt.com. You can find your Bobcats by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and of course, you can find the BSC Syracuse playlist. The Bobcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find the Bearcats with us here during Bearcat Time with student athletes, coaches, and administration. We appreciate all the hard work, dedication, and determination coming from the Binghamton University Bearcats. Can't thank them enough for the work that they do. And of course, student athletes as well as coaches and administration can all be found in our specials with the Bearcats on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find the Binghamton playlist right there on our YouTube channel. You'll also find the Bearcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, I want to thank my incredible guests on today's broadcast, Papa Joe, as well as longtime collegiate and pro football coach, that being Bob Casullo. Both of them, the incomparables. So thanks to Papa Joe, thanks to Bob, thanks to you. Find us on Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at WakeUpCall_DT. And of course, we will be with you tonight, by the grace of God, on site, on location for GG Cards and Breaks Trade Night at the Wildcat Sports Pub, 3680 Milton Avenue in Camillus, New York. Come and get your grub on, see me on stage, buy, sell, and trade with each other. Come and see my collection. Bring some of that home with you today, hopefully, because I got some good stuff that I'm willing to share with the world and I'm excited to. Can't wait to see you out there. Can't wait to have some fun. GG Cards and Breaks at the Wildcat tonight, January 16th, 6 to 9:30 p.m. We will see you out there in their party room. I will be on the main stage, and I can't wait. Facebook, once again, at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call_DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, God bless, no stress. Do your best. Take care, y'all.